Hello. How's everybody doing tonight? So, as you know, I'm working on a HyperCard stack that's an adventure game. And I'm running into some of the limitations of HyperCard. Yes, there are limitations. I came up with a custom built multi-select list from using the field control. And lo and behold, when I was looking through stacks in the home stack, there is a select list, or I forget what it's called now. Anyway, there's a multi-select list external function that you can call that they included in the home stack. So my whole idea behind HyperCard is to try to limit it to what's available in HyperCard and what was released. So even though this is an external function that you run, I'm including it. So, oh, sorry about that. So, Gut Bomb, you were waiting yesterday for it to start? Yeah, I actually posted yesterday's date for about 30 seconds and then corrected it. So, maybe it's my fault that you were waiting. So I'm sorry for that. So, well, before I start showing stuff off, let's welcome people. Joe's Computer Museum is here, and Frank S, and Gut Bomb, and 1-Bit Fever Dreams, and there you go. So let's do some HyperCard shenanigans. So let's, and of course I did not set up the transition. There we go. So I've got, version tracking inside HyperCard is basically non-existent. So I've just got a whole bunch of, daily programs that I've run, and I've been working on them at work during lunch using my 180C. Which is a bit of a challenge. It's only got 4 megabytes of RAM in it, but it has an active matrix screen. And my 520, which has 12 meg, is passive matrix, so it gets a little tiring to look at. But, you can do HyperCard development with just 4 meg. Technically, you could open and run stacks with 1 meg, but HyperCard itself uses up 1 meg of RAM. So that's probably not going to work. Anyway, let's open up the stack that I've been working with. It's not under adventure. So I've got this stack that I've been using to toy around with the controls, and I modified it. If you watched the last video I did, I used this as a sample. There it is, multi-select list. Now this control was not available in the original release of HyperCard. It was something that was added later, probably in the last release, I don't know. But it's the show list external function. So you remember I went through last time with, how does it work if you just use a plain field, and, the selection can be weird. So that's not going to work for a list. I mean, you could do it. You could double click on something and that would work. The next thing is you check the auto select off, and that will allow you to do, a single click in here and you could pick something, but you can't, there's no option for selecting multiple values with that setting. There is a multiple lines setting, but this is where it kind of misses the mark. You only can choose contiguous sections, so I can't do 4 and 6 and skip 5. You have to do 4, 5, and 6. So that's kind of a showstopper. And then here was my multi-select list. You'll remember the first time I did it, I just had I think it was the letter O and then a filled in dot to use it, but I modified it because it occurred to me that I could set the text style, and setting it to bold instead of plain is a good way to show a selection. It also has the additional advantage of reducing the code because I didn't have to stick in the dot and control that. And if you take the text right out of the list, you don't have to strip that off either. So here I can grab all of them. So that was an improvement that I made where I was like, duh, you can control the style of text. So, and it's easy enough to check. So that was a little change from last time. But we have this show list control function. So it shows whatever's in the list. And the reason why it doesn't have everything is it works by calling a function and passing it a value that's a list of options. And it can be as much as your memory can handle. And you can go through here and pick something and select it. So if we pick one and select it, now it just shows what's in it. And that's a good point. Making this in Think C would be painful. I'm sure this function was either in Think Pascal or Think C that it was created. That was pretty much the language everybody used for external functions. You can also shift select just like you can with the regular box. But here's something else. You hold the command key down, you can unselect something in the middle. So we actually can select, any number of the things we want. And it returns a list, and now you've got the 3 things you selected. So it's not terrible. I mean, it pops up a box and you've got to do this. I can hit cancel to not select anything. And I can select off of the list to unselect stuff so that nothing would show up. You could also control what buttons that you want here, so you can add additional buttons to do whatever you want. You've got 2 lines of text that you can add. So all in all, it's not bad, but here's the problem. And this is where they just missed it. There's a parameter for saying here's the selected value or the selected number of what's in the list to be able to say, highlight the 3rd item in here. So you could have the function highlight the 3rd item. The problem is you can't tell it to highlight multiple ones. So I can't pass into it to highlight 3, 4, and 5, or to say do 4 and 7. So I can't pass to it what is currently selected for the multiselect function. So it's like, what were they thinking when they did that? They could have sent a list of here's what I want in the list. They could have sent a comma-separated list of I want you to pick the 4th and the 7th item in the list, and then return. They go to the trouble to return which items were selected. But now I can't edit something and pass to it what the current state is. So if you're picking stuff, you have to remember that 4 and 7 is already included. Go in here and remember to pick 4 and 7 to get back to where you're at, and then add whatever you want to it. So it's less than perfect. But if you're selecting just a single item, it's convenient, because what if I had you could only pick one thing instead of multiple, and I wanted to use up less screen real estate. I could modify this box so that it's only a single item showing, single line of text, And now when you pop up, you've got all this room to be able to go pick one thing and select it, and then it would just show up in one line. So that saves a lot of space. So it's really quick. Let's look at the code for this. Go to the field control. You'll see how it's a lot simpler if you looked at the last episode I did. So I'm manually just creating a list of 1 through 7. So it has to be a list with returns at the end, and you can put them into a variable. It doesn't have to be a field that you're grabbing them from. Then I'm indicating whether it should be a multi-line select or not by using the multi-lines property of the field. So I can put that into here and control how it works. The selected items is what you've selected from it, so I put empty in there to start. And here I repeat and go through the lines to build up what I thought was going to work, which was a comma separated list of here are the items that are selected. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. I changed the text based on whether it's multi-select or not. And then here's the function. So show list, you pass it the list of items on a text with return at the end of each item. You send the prompt that you want. You indicate whether or not it's multi-select or not. So I turned it off here. What else is what's the other value? Actually, let's do this because I can't remember off the top of my head. I should have put notes in here. So let's go out of the script. Let's go home. And this is where I found it. So you go to the stack kit and power tools. This opens a stack that has several things in it. There's paint palettes and a script library and various things. There's this show list function. So what you pass to it, sorry, I can get this out of the way. You pass to it a list of items, the text prompt, whether it's multi-select or not, typing select. So you can put a long list in here, and if you start typing one of the items, it'll go to it. And then you can have up to 4 buttons to do things. You've got the highlighted line, only one, and then you can indicate where with the left and the top for the position of it. If you leave those off, it puts it in the center of the screen. So I was really disappointed that the you get to the explanation. So you got the buttons highlighted left top. So they give a couple of examples and hit this. So you can choose a color. I can pick 2 colors. And it'll tell me that I press the OK button. It sends back a text list. The first thing in the list is which button you pressed. And the second thing in the list is the comma separated list of the position numbers, line numbers inside the list, saying you pick number 5 and number 6 so that you can figure it out. That's it. So it works. It's useful for selecting single items, but it's frustrating because it's like almost there for being very useful, and it doesn't quite make it. So there you are. So the like I said, the code was simpler because you have that one function that you have to call. If you look at the code I had for this, I did simplify it a little bit, but it is more complicated. So here I build up and say what's selected and what's not by using the text style of the line to indicate if it's bold or plain. And then I've got add and delete items from list. This is old code that I didn't actually use. But I was trying to write a library that I could call that would handle all the stuff and hide the complexity of it. Anyway, that's a lot more code. So it does simplify it, but again, you run into that limitation. So let's go to my game. So we're going to open, now we'll just close this. And go up to, we can close this. We've got Adventure open over here. So I'll show you where I saved a little real estate. And basically where I'm at with the game. Hot scripting action. Okay. So I have the game where it saves its state. So if you shut down HyperCard, it saves everything to field variables, or excuse me, field controls. I've got an object editor, and I've got the location editor. So I'm still using my custom multi-select, but I've simplified it to use bold. Yeah, it works. Hi, Ron. I've got, here's a field that's a single line. You click on it, pops up and says select a location. Of course, I've got bugs in the code right now, so this is just a thing to clean things up so that I can do this again. There we go. So these are all the locations in the game, so I could pick one. I ran into an issue where, if this is full, you can't unselect something. There's no way to unselect. So I added a clear button that unselects things. Excuse me. Okay, so we're going to select that item. I have it set up so that you can only select, I believe I got this set up to select, yeah, it only selects one item, so that helps. Cancel, don't want to change it. If it's empty and I pick something but I don't want to actually change it, I hit clear. That way it doesn't save it. But you notice that this is a lot better as far as real estate goes, because I have a pop-up. Thank you, Retro Techie. So this screen works mostly. You can go from record to record, and it's reading off of a set of global variables for what should go in the record. Well, one global variable. And you could edit this, so we could say you're here, logs of wood breaking. Hit save, and it saves it. I can delete, or I can create a new one. So if I want to create a new location, let's go to the last record. So I've got a cave tunnel number 1. So we can do new, and it clears everything out. I can put, let's leave the name blank for a moment and say some random location. And if I can say whether it's the home location where the game starts or not. And we'll say you can get to the cave entrance from it by going north. And if you go east, let's say it's a shortcut to the forest glade. Let's do that. Okay. Now I don't have a name for it. Let's say that you there's a guard there. Oh, see, I don't have that quite done yet. That's not right. This one I did the code for, so I switched it so you could do that. This one is not working. So I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm messing them up. Let's not select anything. And if I try to save it, I don't have a name. I think I put the code in for this. You must enter a location name. That's the key value that's used. So we're going to call this random location. Now, they need to be unique names so that, because it's the key value that's used in here. Maybe I'll use a number or something, I don't know, but for now it works well enough. So if I save it, now I've got 10 locations. It puts you on the new record. If I go back to the first record, here's the Forest Glade. Now if you remember on the 10th one, and this is where I want to build a map editor to make it a little easier. Now you see I lost what was in the North Glade. I've still got bugs in this code. So it doesn't have, it's not doing that right. Anyway, that kind of works. If we go to the object editor, it's a lot simpler. It's just some text fields. You don't have to pick anything. So of course this works a lot faster. I'm going to reload it. You know, you can go between fields a lot faster because it's not having to troll through a bunch of stuff. Unrecognized key object with value lamp. So it's gone off in the woods and it thinks that the Forest Glade is an object. So definitely have some code that I need to work on. Alright. What else? So if you go here, this is the database, if you will, for all the locations and everything. So here's an NPC. It's got key value pairs. Name is guard. Description: a guard dressed in armor holding a sword. One shot means it's a dialogue, but he only says it once. Where he says, "I was an adventurer like you, then I took an arrow in the knee." And then beware of the duck, off with you, things like that. So if you use up the dialogue, it pulls the dialogue off of the object in memory so that it won't say it again. And it just randomly picks stuff. If it's just, if it's not one shot and it's dialogue, for example, here with the bunny, it'll just randomly pick from it. It doesn't wear out the dialogue. And then objects have a name. Here's the note. Well, that's a really long object. Let's pick something a little shorter. Here's the lamp. It's got a description. So you can look at the lamp and it'll read the description instead of just saying lamp. It's got a use command. So if you use lamp, this is what it says. And if you say put away, that's what it says. So very simple stuff. There's no actions yet. I can't throw the lamp. I can use the sword, which means I take it out and I admire how shiny it is, but that's all. I can't attack anything with it yet or anything. And I want to get the editor working before I go any farther. So there's that. And I'm going to show you one of the early stacks that is the inspiration for the map editor. So if we go home, oh, it's not on the home stack, sorry. I'm going to have to open a stack, and it is, where did I put it? It's in the HyperCard projects underneath the authoring thing. Is it in the example stacks? Nope. I'll find it. Oh, sorry, give me a minute. I should have made shortcuts to all these things. Ah, here it is, train set. So this was available in the very first version of HyperCard. And it's kind of a neat toy. It is a track that you can lay out with roads and other objects. You can put in any number of pieces of track with different things on it. Here's the train, and if I run it, it actually runs the train along the track. You can make it slower. It's actually pretty cool, and I mean, there's a lot of code, but it's actually fairly simple. So we can stop it. I can edit. Go to the build. So it's got this little pop-up thing that you can use, and I could say, let's put a stop here. And then run it. And it crashes. You can repair it, except there's a bug. Now this script had to be converted to the later version of HyperCard, and there's probably bugs in it because of that. So let's cancel that. Let's go back and fix the track here and just put that in. I was trying to run the train. Stop. Oh, I clicked on the train so it changed directions. Let's build. Grab the track. Put it on there. But you can add tunnels. So you could go through a tunnel. So the idea here is I could do a similar thing for a map, where instead of having to say, oh, if you go north you hit this, I could just lay out the map for the game, indicate a starting point, say what location each grid spot on the map is, and then it would use that to guide it. So that's the little train app, and it's pretty cool. We'll go into the develop tools here and look at the buttons. You can see it's just an array of buttons in different locations. Each button has just one script on it that says you picked it, and then there's a function that, or rather an event handler that does that. But you'll notice the button name is encoded with a location, so it knows where it is relative to others. There's 107 card buttons on here. And if you look at this button, you can see that it's got a different icon. So that's how it's handling all the different kinds of train stuff, you know, track and everything. And the icon for the train, it actually, the code changes the icon to different trains, so it shows that it's got different exhaust and stuff like that to animate it. So it's similar to what I did for the animation. Let's go back to the browser tool. Anyway, it's kind of a neat little toy, and I thought I could do the same thing for a map for the game. I really want to work on this. Here's a convoluted one I threw together just to try it. And I'd love to work on the map editor, but I need to get the rest of the code working before I do that. So you can see the little animation for the train. Pretty clever what they came up with. I don't know what that does. Maybe you have to stop. What does that button do? Oh, how to use the train set. So it explains how the train works. Anyway, this is one of the sample apps that they put in there. So we close the help, and if you do a new card, make a new train card. Okay. What do I want to name it? Joe's computer museum. Sure, let's just do that. So all you got is a train, you start laying track. So let's just have it go in a circle. This is going to be the simplest train set ever. You click on the train and you drag it to drop it where you want it to be. We want to get rid of that piece of track, so we just do plain. Close this, and we're going to tell it to run. And that's it. We're just going in circles. But you can imagine a lot of things. I think they suggested in an article about it, or I read somewhere, you could do electric circuits this way. You could have a button represent a different component, like a resistor or capacitor, or a light and a battery and wires, and then turn the circuit on. You know, so there's a lot of stuff you could do with this. Anyway, I'm going to use the same concept to do, after I get the editor working and everything, I want to integrate that with being able to, sorry, something popped up on my screen. Integrate that so that you're able to, you know, design the layout of your game. So that's it. I really didn't have much else to show. Let me close this. I said close. No, it's not doing the idle. You have to stop. Okay. So it's like glomming onto all the cycles there. Go back to the adventure stack. And let's see if I haven't gummed up the works. Can I reset the game? Okay. Alright. So this is what I've got. You were in a forest glade. To the north you see a trail. That's the standard text description of the location. I changed it today. I added code to say, look at the navigation, because you define what's at the north and what's at the south, and describe it that way. I'm probably going to have to rename some things, so that it's like, oh, it's Steve's oubliette fall. You know, I don't want people to go, oh, I shouldn't go south because that looks dangerous or something. So I'm going to have to work on this a little bit. But so now it'll automatically tell you, you know, what you see to the north, south, east, and west. So you can look, oops, look at grenade, and it is the holy hand grenade of Antioch according to the Book of Armaments, chapter 2, yada yada yada. It's not the complete text, but it's there. Tells you what to do. So if I take grenade, now it's in my inventory, you have a grenade. And if I look at the location, the grenade is no longer there because you have it. Now it's not part of the location anymore. If I go north, you're in a forest glade, blah, blah, blah. If you look at your inventory, I still have the grenade. I can use grenade. You pull the pin, count to 3, no more, no less, then lob the grenade. Doesn't do anything because if you look at your inventory, I still have a grenade and I'm still using it. So I need to do consumables. Yeah, 1, 2, 5. No, 3, my lord. So obviously you can't use a grenade and have it too. I guess I could add cake and you could continuously just eat the cake. But you get the idea. I'll have to do some kind of consumable. And let's go over here and look at the object editor. It'd be easy enough to add a field that says, how many do you get? If it's 0, it's an infinite number. If it's 3, you get 3. And in the global variable that's handling all the objects, I could count it down and keep track. And when you're at 0, you run out. And it's no longer in your inventory because you used it up. You could ask how many you have. How many grenades do I have? Or something like that. All I have to do is add another attribute to objects that I keep track of. And then when you save the game, it would put it into a field variable to save it for you. So when you came back to the game, you wouldn't magically have 5 grenades. You'd still only have the 1 or 2 or whatever number you have. So that's how I intend to build this up. And I did talk to Kate in chat, and she's going to allow me with her, she has to review it, to include Mackie in here as one of the ancient computers of wisdom that you can talk to. So hopefully we'll be able to come up with some dialogue so that when you run into an ancient computer, it actually tries to help you or something. Probably just be silly with you, but whatever, we can come up with something. But she wants to, for obvious reasons, she wants to vet it and make sure that I'm not doing something inappropriate to or with Mackie. Or at first she assumed I was doing graphics, and I'm like, no, this is a text adventure. There's not going to be any pictures. Could possibly evolve to have them down the road. So let's see who else we got in the chat. We got everybody we had before. We have Ron of Ron's Computer Videos. Welcome, Ron. K-Mac Vintage joined. Jack68K. Okay. What's going on in the chat? One of my portables was giving me a hard time today, but got it partially working. 2 more to go. Awesome. I know those things are finicky from what I've heard. And I'm actually kind of enjoying creating and writing code right now instead of trying to repair stuff. It's satisfying when I can get things working, even when it's frustrating when I can't. But you may know that I started working on a physics game called Annoyed Trout. HyperCard just doesn't perform well enough to do what I wanted to do with it. I could move the physics engine into an external command, and I might down the road and save that for later. But right now it's just too slow to use. But it would be an interesting game to add. What else? Ron and I will be at VCF Midwest, and I will be giving a presentation on HyperCard, and Ron will be helping me with that, so that the two of us will be up on stage. And essentially the presentation, it's going to be at 8 o'clock on Saturday night, so hopefully people will be back from dinner by then. And what we'll do is talk about what all the hype was about with HyperCard when it came out, and why people got excited about it. And there is a little history to how it came to be. There were predecessors before that. Xerox Spark had or I forget what it's called. Xerox Alto? Was that what that computer was? Anyway, the Xerox computer that Steve Jobs and everybody saw, that kind of inspired the Macintosh and Lisa and what they were doing, from Xerox, had a card metaphor for information where you could draw like a graph or a network of cards with information on them and stuff. So there were things that were being done. There was the idea of hypertext and hyperlinks that came from I forget the gentleman's name, but from like the 20s and 30s, 1920s, 30s era, where he described how you might be able to work with the idea was to use microfiche and optical encoding and stuff so that you can index things and be able to find it and do associations between things. So the concepts have been there for a long time. It's just that Bill did a really good job of seeing what he could do and leveraging what he knew of the Mac to create this system. So we'll go a little bit into the history and stuff, and then we'll show off some of the things you can do with it. Because it was the entry drug for a lot of kids when they were learning how to program, just like the Apple II was. And I think we've lost a little bit of that. Environments that make it easy for people to just get in and build things, even without coding. That's really what the talk is going to be about. So if you're at VCF Midwest, I hope you can attend. If you're not, I hope you watch the video later. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So, and Ron will keep me from making it a 4-hour presentation. I'll try to squeeze as much in as I can, but sometimes I try to do too much. And he's really good at time management. I am not. So I believe Ron and is it Steve again or someone else? Ron's going to be doing another presentation. I can't recall what the topic was, but if you're there, please, Ron's going to be in a couple of them. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope everybody else is that's going. So well, I'm gonna leave it here and get back to coding. So it's really difficult for me to talk about coding and do coding at the same time, so I'm not going to live stream that. If anybody has any questions or anything, hit me up. You can find me on bitbang.social under Eric's Edge. And you can find me on Twitter, although I don't really do much there anymore, but I still check to see if I got messages and stuff. Oh, KMac, it's great. You're going to make it. Awesome. Of course, you can find me on YouTube, Eric's Edge videos. Yeah, that's about it. So, thanks everybody for coming. And have a great time. Play around with HyperCard. See what you can make. Okay. All right. Bye, everybody.